Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today we need to have a look at Paldea Evolved. Specifically, we need to have a look at what are likely to be the most expensive cards in the set. Of course, the pre-releases for Paldea Evolved have now happened. A lot of us have been to pre-releases, gotten our hands on cards, and I've had a bunch of questions from people already, as tends to happen. Hey, Wossy, what's this card worth? Are these cards good? What cards should I be looking for from the pre-release, etc.? Do, of course, bear in mind, pre-releases happen for 2 weekends, so yeah, we've had the first weekend of pre-releases, but there's still another weekend to go. Now, the reason we can do this is because basically Paldea Evolved is made up of 3 Japanese sets. The double set Snow Hazard and Clayburst, and the mini set Triple Beat. So we can go and have a look over in Japan at what the most expensive cards were, and we can use that to make pretty sensible predictions about what the most expensive cards will be in English in Paldea Evolved. But there is a gigantic caveat that we need to put on the beginning of the video, and it is this. This is going to be a good video for working out the most expensive cards as a list, and for general rough approximate value compared to each other. It is not going to be a good video for figuring out the actual price of cards, because especially when we get down to, some of the big special illustration rares, etc., no, they are not going to be as valuable in English as they were in Japanese, not even remotely close. Good. So starting off then, in at number 10, we have got a card that I actually pulled so far, the Special Illustration Rare of Quaquavel. Now, sometimes I'm going to be using Japanese scans here, just if we don't have English ones available, you'll have to forgive me. Now, this, in Japan, has a value of approximately 4,500 yen, or about $30. Now, this one could actually be somewhere around there in English, but this is on the lower end of the big special illustration rares, if that's not a weird way to put it. This one is on the lower end of them. $30 is decent, but it's not an especially playable card. It's not one that we expect to see topping tournaments. Quaquavel is clearly not the coolest, of the first partner Pokemon. It's a cool card, but this comes in at number 10. Still very much a card you want to be pulling. Now, in at number 9, we've got the Full Art Grusha, which comes in at about 5,800 yen, which is approximately $40. Now, Grusha actually is a very interesting card. This is, it's a pretty cool card, honestly. It's a very nice card. This is the one whereby you draw till you got 7 cards in your hand, but if you've got no energy on the field, you draw until you got 7 cards in hand instead. It's a cool card. It's a nice card. We like this card. And it's Grusha, and Grusha's kind of cool, so this makes sense. In at number 8, we've got the Special Illustration Rare of Skeledirge, which in Japan is a 6,500 yen card, or approximately $45. This is kind of where we start getting away. I would be very surprised if Skeledirge actually ended up this high for, in English. I mean, let's take an example, right? Let's take Gardevoir. If we're looking at Special Illustration Rare Pokemon, Gardevoir is extremely popular and has proven to be extremely playable. It's been doing very well in every tournament since Scarlet and Violet actually came around. And if we look at the Special Illustration Rare of Gardevoir as it stands at the moment, according to TCG Player, it's somewhere in the region of a $30 card. But again, Gardevoir is a very popular Pokemon, and this card itself is very, very playable, so Gardevoir should really be proper job on the high end of value for Special Illustration Rares in the Scarlet and Violet era when we're talking about Pokemon. So don't expect many at all to be up at $30 with Gardevoir, and that should tell you basically everything you need to know. Are we expecting Skeledirge to end up at $45? Nah, not even close. Now, the Chien-Pao Special Illustration Rare is coming in at 8,000 yen, or about $55, and this is a very, very cool one, because firstly, come on, it's Chien-Pao, Chien-Pao's awesome, but secondly, Chien-Pao is, of course, a very, very, very good card, a very popular card, because it's got that ability that lets you search for any 2 water energy, put them in your hand. And at the same time, it's also got an attack that lets you discard water energy from anywhere on the field. And when you do so, you get to do 60 damage for each one that's discarded. That's an awesome thing, ladies and gentlemen. An awesome, awesome thing. So yeah, it's a really good card. So this one should be among the more expensive. But again, and I do really stress this, we need to bear in mind that it's still not going to be at that level of value. You have been warned. Now, the full art of Dendra comes in at 9,500 yen in Japan. That's about a $65 card as we stand at the moment. And Dendra's a weird one. Like, I don't think Dendra is that popular a character. I could be wrong. But Dendra was kind of assigned the role of good character from Triple Beat. And the rule is that at every Japanese set, one of the characters gets pulled out as really cool, and the full art and special illustration rares go a little bit silly. So this is whereby you take a card from your hand, put it on the bottom of your deck, and then you draw until you've got 5 cards in hand. It's cool. It's a nice card. It's probably going to see a little bit of play here and there as another drawing option. Is it going to be a huge, just fantastic? No, it's fine. It's all right. But again, I am very cynical here as to how much value this is really going to see. Sure, it's a $65 card now. You ain't going to be paying $65 for this. It's going to be like a $15, $20 card. That's my prediction. Don't take that as a fact. Now, in at number 5, this is where we see the first big jump. We've got the special illustration rare of Meowscarada, which in Japan is currently a 15,000 yen card, or about $105. And this makes sense, because if you look at the first partner Pokémon, this is the playable one. This is the one that could force its way into some decks. Not saying it's going to be this stunning, amazing card, but I am saying it's pretty cool. I mean, it's got the ability Bouquet Magic. Yeah, you got to discard a basic grass energy from your hand, but then you get to put 3 damage counters on one of your opponent's bench, which is awesome. And then for 2 energy, you do 100, but if there's already any damage on, it does 220 for 2 energy. And you've got this really nice ability that can damage on the bench, and then an attack which is really good for 2 energy. It's another one of those that is let down by virtue of it being a stage 2, but beautiful artwork. First partner Pokemon, pretty playable. Yeah, there's no way this ends up being more than treble Gardevoir, but it's still going to be one of the cards you're looking for. Now that's actually the last Pokemon on the list. The top 4 are all supporter cards. So in at number 4, we've got the special illustration rare of Grusha, which in Japan is about an 18,000 yen card, or about $130. It's a cool card. We like this. Again, we talked about Grusha earlier and what it does. It's a cool card that's a decent drawing option, but mostly it's a beautiful special illustration rare. And we all know we're going to talk about Iono in a minute, right? That's not a big secret. I think this is better artwork than Iono. Although, the more I plan to go to Japan for Worlds in August, the more I'm looking at all these wonderful Japanese sweets that I want to try when I get out there. And that is legitimately making me like the Iono card more. Like a content creator going to Japan and trying a bunch of sweets. I'm not saying I am Iono, but I am saying this card speaks to me a little bit. But I'm probably not going to be picking it up because, you know. Now we see the second big jump, and we do get to Iono. The full art in Japan right now is a $34,000 card, or about $240. Yes, I did manage to pull this from my Clayburst box. No, I don't know what happened, but no arguments here, ladies and gentlemen. I am absolutely delighted. It's a very cool card, and I'm very, very happy. This is the official image they've put out. I want to use the English image. Yes, I know, there's a Bellibolt peeking out. And not even really peeking, it's right there. Now, this is another one of those ones, and initially, people are going to go dumb for this card. It's going to be silly. People are going to massively overpay. But, as I've told you a million times before, the cards never get that ridiculous in English. I'm really glad I got the Japanese version of this card. Really glad. Because I am never paying $240 for the Japanese version of this card. It's not happening. I hope to soon sell it for about $240 because I don't need this card. But as a consolation prize, might pick up the English version, and honestly, I think I'm going to be able to get the English version for like 20 bucks. Like, legitimately. And if you don't believe me, remember Miriam was a super hyped character that came around from Scarlet and Violet, and that's a sub $20 card. Now, to be fair, Iono is ridiculously playable and going to be a staple in like every deck. So maybe $20 is a bit aspirational, but it's still not going to be ridiculous. But I might have spoken too soon when I said $20. Miriam is legit like a sub $20 card, but Iono is, and it's playable, but Iono is ridiculously playable, so maybe a bit more than that. I don't know. I'll figure that one out later. Still might pick it up in English. Dendra comes in at number 2. Over in Japan, it's a 43,000 yen card, or $305. I know I could have rounded it to 300, but it was like 307, and I couldn't do that. Just felt wrong. So what we've got here is the big card from Triple B. I told you Dendra was essentially the character that everybody picked from Triple Beat to be ridiculously popular and expensive. And annoyingly, I really like this artwork. Ghidorah's done amazing work on this. It makes me a bit sad. Now, it's a $300 card in Japan as we speak. I did look up the values as I made this video. I'm not going on historical values, I'm going on the values now. And Dendra's a card that's been out for a while, and it's still sitting there at that kind of level. But again, in a world where Miriam's like a $60 card now, the special illustration rare, I can't imagine Dendra being that much more expensive. So if I ever really feel like treating myself, I might pick up the English version of this card. Not the Japanese version, because I'm not rich. We talked about what Dendra did a minute ago. And then obviously in at number 1, the Iono Special Illustration Rare in Japan. It's 118,000 yen. It's an $840 card. It is absolutely absurd. It's ridiculous, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely ridiculous. Now, first of all, hope you pull the Japanese version of this card. You're going to be set. Second of all, not even close. Remember, Miriam was an absurdly expensive card, the most expensive we've seen for a very long time, and Miriam has settled as a $60 card. Now, Iono is more popular than Miriam, and it is very, very playable, so I could imagine a world where the special illustration rare of Iono ends up being a $100 card in the long term. I could actually see it for this one. But I really don't expect it to be any more than that. Now, I could absolutely be wrong. This could be the one that breaks the mold. But I need to warn you, supporter cards in English do not settle above $50 or $60. They just don't, no matter what it is. Now, there are some that over time get up that high. But I'm talking about kind of on release when they're new. It just doesn't happen, ladies and gentlemen. It just doesn't happen. And don't get me wrong, this could be the card that breaks the rule, that breaks the mold, that actually does get above $60 and settle there. I legit could see that happening. But it's not going to be that much above, and I think that's the important thing to mention. Right, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Like I say, in terms of values, do not expect them to be on the same level. It's just not going to happen as they were in Japan. That is not going to be a thing. However, in terms of which are going to be the most sought after cards, these are the ones you should be expecting. So there we go. That's what you need to know. And now it's over to you guys. So tell me which of these cards you pulled at your pre-release. Tell me which ones you're going after. Tell me how much you're willing to pay. Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon card games, all kinds of fun things. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, all kinds of fun things. And get shout-outs on the channel, like the lovely Trevs99, who's been a supporter of ours for a little while now, and seems at least to be a very lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.